what has been like the biggest change in your perception of a rule or of an idea around trading that used to be different when you were like maybe a year or even when you first started? Whether that's risk, like how you view risk, whether that's taking rough, go ahead. Welcome back everybody to Be the Trader. Today I have a very special episode. There's going to be 3 traders. As you can see right now, I have Jack Kellogg, Mastro Matteo, and Mike Huddie. And this is going to be a special treat because they want to talk about a subject that a lot of traders really don't just really dive into, and you might not know about these 3 that they've already done. So, and that's the whole idea of meeting new traders and actually talking to them on a regular basis. How did that kind of work out for you guys?
I think we all have a different story to tell, but it all kind of revolves around the same idea that, you know, a big part of trading is networking, is being able to have trader accountability buddies, someone to say, hey, we trade the same stuff, you trade it well, and how can we both improve together or, you know, figure it out together? Because, you know, trading can be very lonely, and I know that they have a very interesting story, and then us individually all have a story as well. And we all kind of got very profitable and consistent at the same time or together. But I think a big reason, I don't think it was random in terms of the timing. I think it's because we do have this connection that we have in a bond. So I think start with them because they really did it.
How'd y'all meet up?
So we met in the challenge chat, right? In Tim Sykes' challenge chat. And I had reached out to you or you reached out to me, I don't remember at the beginning, but we both kind of recognized each other's like work ethic. And like we were interested in the same thing. We were watching the same like motivational stuff on YouTube and like reading the same books. And like that's an important part of networking is like finding like-minded people, like people who you actually can see succeeding, because that kind of momentum playing off of each other like can really help. And then, you know, long story short, he ended up moving in with me in Michigan. We moved into an apartment together and basically started like the Michigan boys of trading. Like it just kind of grew from there, and now it's like huge. But
you guys had a sign, Stratmon Oakmont, right?
We had shirts, the Wolf of Wall Street business.
We just had fun with it, you know?
Yeah.
What benefited from that? Like when you were sitting with each other, like was there some negative things too? Because I immediately think of, okay, you can influence each other in a way where maybe Jack is confident in X, you're confident in Y, and you trade it differently, but you get into each other's heads. Like how do you prevent that through those building relationships and helping you grow?
I would say that like I can definitely see like your point of view, but I feel like Dom and I's like trading styles were so similar that we never really disagreed on anything ever.
Yeah.
And it was always like we were just like a team basically, and like we always kind of had the same like thought process. Like I met Dom when I was unprofitable. Yeah. Maybe like 5 to 10K in the hole. I think he was up like 20 or 30 grand and he was starting to find some success. And like you said, we started talking about like-minded stuff. And I was the only young one in this small like group chat that we had, and Dom was also the young one. So we started talking, and then just became friends, and we played Fortnite together. Like I became friends with his brother as well. And then like I went out to Michigan just to hang out.
And I think the main benefit that really from that year we spent together, like because we basically, like he was saying, we're like we built our system. Like a lot of what we do now started in that office together, like where we were working on it together and playing off of each other. It wasn't really agree or disagree. It was kind of like what works and what doesn't. But the main benefit was like that. It was like nonstop trading talk. Like we go out to dinner, we talked trading. We, you know, weren't trading, but we went golfing, we were talking trading. Like everyone who came in was a trader. And like, it was just like a year where we were like submerged in trading talk. Like it was nonstop trading. And I feel like that year was like where everything kind of started for us, because, you know, we just took it really serious. Like people, when they look and see if they're doing enough work and like putting enough time and effort in right now, like if you just had a camera on us that year, like you would see like how much we outworked most people during that time.
Hey, we wouldn't be able to do these face-to-face interviews if it wasn't for our sponsor, Cobra Trading. So if you could just give them a few seconds of your time, we'd really appreciate it. Cobra Trading is the go-to broker for day traders and short sellers. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, Benzinga awarded Cobra Trading as the go-to broker for short selling. They have a heavy focus on direct market access order routing, so you have the fastest execution. They have some of the best locate prices and availability. They also have amazing customer service. I've experienced many different brokers, and it's why I use them every single day and why I'm proud to have them as our sponsor. Sign up now by clicking the Be the Trader referral link below and earn 1 free month of software with Cobra and 25% off all commissions. Now let's get back to the show.
Oh yeah, probably the top 1% of work ethics for sure. Just because it was only trading. Like I didn't have a car. I was only friends with Dom and Dom's dad, who was also a trader. Dom's brother, who he was also into trading and poker, so it was the same kind of mindset. And then what we also did as well is Dom had a few friends. Like after we got, we hit a nice run from January into February. And then there's a few students that like we kind of took in students, but really like Dom's friends. And then while we were still growing, we're also teaching them the basics. And it was just like this huge like small little firm like of newbie traders, but like still like on the rise, like slowly starting to rise up.
Well, then while we're doing that, we're connecting with Huddie and Kyle Williams, and we're like still building the group. Like right now we're at a meetup in Scottsdale, and like last night I was just like thinking about like there was a group, we were eating dinner with 15 traders, and it's like you start off in this small little cubicle where you don't know anyone who trades, and like look where we are now, like 6-7 years later, like we have trading friends, like so much success has come out of all this networking, and I feel like everyone like benefits so much from it, and it's so important to like take it seriously from day one, because until Jack, I didn't talk to anyone trading. Like I did it all on my own, and I feel like I probably wasted away a few months like where I could have learned a lot from someone else. That was a lot of fun though. Like, it's crazy to see where we're at now.
What do you feel like has helped you the most? Is it during like pivotal moments when you're all winning, or when you're taking losses, or when one person's losing? In those growth moments as a group, like did you see any moments where it's like, wow, like I wouldn't view this the same if I was by myself?
I think it's super motivational when you have someone who trades the same setups as you and starts killing it. And like, that person really well, like you discuss, like what do we like to see, what do we don't like to see? And you ask them that question, like, okay, how did you do so well? Why did you have so much size? What did you like about this setup? And that is able to add to your knowledge base so well because it's practical, it's tangible. It's like you feel it and then you get motivated to do what they just did.
Yep.
Because like again, we all trade very similarly, similar stocks, just different because we're not talking all the time. So that for me, that like they both motivated the crap out of me, and that was huge.
I also think what helps is like everyone's at different points in their journey, but they're also experiencing the same markets differently, and like having those experiences and like seeing someone else go through. Like I remember when we were talking earlier about your HEAR short that you like lost a lot of money for your small account back then on, but like watching you go through that and like that whole day of you like texting Grittani like, what do I need to do? How do I get out of this? And like that kind of helped me never go through that because I watched it firsthand and was able to like learn from it. And the more people you're in communication with, like you're going to be able to like see a lot of things without experiencing them. And I think that sets you apart and lets you move forward faster because you don't need to go through a lot of the hurdles that you're supposed to go through.
That's a good point. So like for me, like I met Tim Grittani really early on in my career. And there were moments where I'd go through rough patches, like a month and a half, 2 months of just like can't figure out my stride, can't get it right. And I would text Grittani and I'd say, dude, like, what do I do? Like, I'm struggling. Like, do I know nothing? Am I a terrible trader?
Right.
And he'd be like, relax, get back to your bread and butter. The thing that made you rich, just only trade that and stop, getting off the trail. And like just a text like that from Grittani, just made my heart just like, everything's fine. It's going to be okay. Just an overextending gap down and let's just hit that,
Yep.
And that always helped me get back on. And I still think about that today. Like when stuff isn't working, okay, find that one pattern that might not be there every day, but when it's there, like I know that I have a pretty high confidence about what's going to happen.
People are probably listening to this and they're like, well, that's great, Huddie, that's great, Jack, that's great, Dom. Y'all guys met each other and who would have known that this would have happened, right? But how do I meet someone how do I know who to meet and how do I even interject with maybe someone who is like a Tim Grittani? Because at your level, when you first started rising up, Tim Grittani was like at his prime, right? And because of that, like they're probably wondering, well, how do I reach out to a Mike Huddie for the first time? Like, I'm sure we all get DMs constantly and it's hard to reply to everyone. So like, how can you suggest someone else to find their own group?
I would say put yourself out there. The number one thing I did was always trying to put myself into the community and get involved. Yeah. So, whether that's at a Tim Sykes conference, which is where I met Dom, or a, in-person boot camp, which is where I met Grittani, or even just in the community, like Jack one day messaged me, DM'd me in Profitly, and that's how we started talking, and then he asked for my number, and, it turns out that worked out really well. Yeah. And so it was just like, in the grand scheme of things, there were little moments, but because we wanted to interact and be involved with the community, we received benefits that we never perceived to receive, which was cool.
Yeah, I think you have to put yourself out there with the expectation that you're not going to get a personal connection or relationship with us three or whatever. Like you think where we started, we were all nobodies. And now we're less of nobodies. But
Still nobody.
yeah, but I'm saying like we created our own thing and made it big, and you don't need to go and have Tim Grattani on your side to become successful. Like I think me and you both kind of like live by have like a mentor, someone who's better than you, have people on your own level, and then have people below you, so that way you're constantly, it's like that cycle you're talking about where you're learning, you're competing, you're getting better in this group, and then you're teaching, so you're also like getting better through teaching. Even if you don't know anything, like you can still provide value to someone, and that in turn will help you learn more as well.
I want to throw this out there. What has been like the biggest change in your perception of a rule or of an idea around trading that used to be different when you were like maybe a year or even when you first started? Whether that's risk, like how you view risk, whether that's taking rough. Go ahead.
I would say that when I first started, like I watched like trading tickers as well as like Stephen Ducks, and I kind of saw how like they traded, and it just seemed like key levels, like really wide risk, and that works with some people, but for me it didn't work, because I found out that like if it's going against me, I have more time to like add to a loser, and kind of, I didn't get the right entry here, so let me add a little bit higher or add a little bit lower, whatever it is. And then you're eventually stopping out. It's going against you, so the odds are probably higher that you're going to stop out anyway. And then the trades that work, it's usually like you hit it, and then it goes in your direction, and then like you don't add. So then once I met Dom, and he kind of showed me how to like add to a winner and like move your risk up, like that was what clicked for me and made me a profitable trader. And also like watching like trading tickers, you see Grattani kind of go through like just holding these positions, and you're like, oh, Grattani can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
He shows some bad trades in there, like where he got out of control.
With a small account, a big account could handle that type of loss, but like with a small account, you have to be so like nimble and so accurate with your trades. Like to really grow from that 30K to that first like 1 million, you can't like really deviate from like a very strict system. Then like once you kind of get over it, you can kind of like, finagle and finesse.
The margin for error is so small at the beginning, and then it kind of loosens throughout the years, because you give yourself more privileges, you can lose more money and be okay. You can keep going if you're talking.
So is it more wrapped around the whole idea that you just have more money, so therefore you don't have to worry about anything, like trading in general, because you're fine? Is that what
No, I just, like what he's saying, like it is very hard to trade, to grow a small account, like it's not an easy task. So the mistakes he's talking about you can mess up and be more okay, because it's not your whole account gone. If you make that mistake with a 10K account, you might never trade again, because you might not have the money to refund it, or you're so demoralized from the loss. Like the margin for error is just so tiny to grow that account, like in terms of mentally and just having the money to trade, but also like, just growing. It's like, it's really difficult to do.
As well, if you make 100 grand and you get caught in a few bad bag holds and you're down like 30, 40, 50K on something, and your tax bill comes around and you pay 50K and you're down 40 or 50K on bag holds, you're wiped out as well. So that's why there's also like that PDT level, and then there's also like that 1, 2, 300K that you still have to be nimbled with. But that's why I was saying, once you get over like 1 million, then you have like, okay, you can take a 50K loss or like something like that. You can pay taxes and still have that big account to still, trade with. But if you make like a few $100,000, you pay taxes and you take a few losses, you're right back down to where you are. So that's why you have to be like very, very disciplined, at least till you get over like that hump of really like high multi-6-figure trader. And that's when you can, make mistakes and be fine and not have like your account get cut in half or even into like a third.
How is it that you guys, tell me what you think about whenever you take a loss? Like what happens to your head? Like when you take a loss, is there emotion tied at all?
We just took one.
Like, right. So when it happens, like what do you feel like? Walk me through that moment. Go ahead.
I got to do this too. I would say that at first, like when I was trading with Dominic and also when I had a small account, not really till like I hit my stride in like late 2020, like I was so like, I had a pretty like pessimistic like personality per se, just because like I was so focused on trading and I wanted to be really good and I wanted to do really good, that if I took a loss, I'd be so mad at myself, stay up at night, think about my losses, whatever, like just be so pissed off. And now I'm at a stage where what do? You laugh. You don't care. You just laugh it off and you move on. But like it's also like with that small account, like it's a lot more pressure because you can't screw up, because you want to make it, you want to make that money.
Yep.
And then once like you get there, it's just about like growing it and managing it. But like you've made that money to achieve the financial freedom.
So then you'll feel like a lot of like failure or like scared or like not happy whenever you would lose back then versus now it's just like I'm not gonna let it get down on me as it used to.
Well, it doesn't do anything for you. Like you getting down on yourself or being mad at the market or mad at the setup, like it just doesn't do anything positive. So you kind of learn that it is what it is.
Yep.
A lot of trading is taking losses. Like that's what you're doing most of the time. Like me, I have a sub 50% win percentage. So if I take a trade, the odds favor me losing, technically. But like I just took that loss, and it was on something I've been watching for over a week. Like I took the trade where I wanted to. Like maybe there was something I did wrong. I was upset about how much because I took some slippage and I
too much size too early, maybe.
Yeah, and there was mistakes I made. But like we're here, we're doing other stuff. It's like it is what it is. I'm not going to go sit at my laptop all day and try to find something else to make my money back.
Where you tried to do that when you had a small account as well, because like if you lose like a little bit of amount, you feel like you can make it back easier. Where now if like you feel like
you know it's going to come back around.
Yeah, it's going to come back around eventually.
It kind of reminds me of like the iPhones, like the original iPhones, and you used to drop them and the whole screen would shatter, right? And like the first time that happened, like that was super annoying and like that sucked. And like iPhones, especially when I was young, like that was expensive. But by the time it happened, like the 8th or 9th time that I dropped an iPhone and the screen like shattered, like I cared less. I was like, okay, like that happened. Okay, that sucks. This is reality. Let's move on to the next phone, on to the next trade. Like it's just like you deal with it. The first 100 losses are a lot different than the next 1,000 losses, right? And they're gonna come, and you just eventually get used to that feeling, and you learn to live with it. You're just like, all right.
So it sounds like whenever you take losses, do you guys normally look for your mistakes right away? Or do you kind of just like
assume second nature?
You subconsciously know.
Yeah.
You don't even have to like.
Do you feel like it's always a mistake you made?
No,
or do you
sometimes it's not a
most of
mistake.
it shouldn't be.
Okay.
It should be part of your process to take losses because no one has a 100% winning percentage. You should, at the end of a loss, I actually feel like I had the size from where I wanted on a pattern that makes sense. It's going to make me money over time, and this was one of them that didn't work. So
if you did make a mistake, you should be able to identify it.
Yes.
Like, what went wrong? Did I oversize? Am I not in the pattern? Like, what did I do wrong? If there is a mistake.
Right.
But you could take a loss and do everything perfect, right?
Yeah,
It's still a game of
that's
odds.
beginners don't recognize.
I love
early
hearing that
enough.
because that's what a lot of people don't hear. They just think if I lose, I'm wrong. I'm not trading well.
I do have a small disagreement. I always think there's at least like a very small mistake that that happened, right? A very small mistake, right?
Yes.
It's not like a big like mistake, like oh I messed up big. Like if you look very into detail, there could have been something that you could have done a little bit better.
Yes.
Just overall looking at like your trade, because it's so hard to have the perfect trade.
Yeah.
But you're following your process, right? So you're doing good. But if you like really just look at like maybe like one dot here, what could you have done a little bit better?
Yeah.
And that's what I always try to do as well, just to kind of always trying to get a little bit better from every trade, you know.
That makes sense. But working together, and you mentioned you talked to Brittany one day when you're going through a rough patch, and it kind of helps you keep going, right? What's something that you've all seen through talking to all types of traders who have made success, right? But you saw them get there, right, in some form or fashion. What was one thing that you noticed that they all go through still to this day, constantly, that you thought that you wouldn't go through anymore once you make it to success?
I don't know if I understood the question, but that last statement kind of reminds me of like, I always felt like there were goals to hit certain monetary values.
Yeah.
And then once I got to those monetary values, those goals just went further. Like once you get to one level, it's just like, you just want to go to the next level. And there's always another level to get to.
Yeah. I'd say nobody's ever made like X amount and then like quit.
Been happy.
Yep.
You're like, oh, let's retire. I made $5 million.
So a lot of people, they have the initial goal, oh, I'm going to buy this at 500K. Oh, I'm going to buy this at 1 million. Oh, I'm going to buy this at whatever. And then you get there and you're like, like, I'll just do that a little bit later. Like, it's not necessarily like, you don't hit it and like, it's an end all be all. Like, it's always like there, and also like, you're never going to feel like that sense of like,
accomplishment?
Yeah, I mean, you still feel
because,
it, but you're never going to
feel the type of people we are that do well at trading is that they have, like, you're a gamer, right? When you played Call of Duty or whatever, and what's it called, Prestige? Do you just stay there, or do you restart and go to 1 and try to do it faster? Or something? Like we are overachievers. Like we want more and more and more, and it's not necessarily a money thing anymore. It's just like we want, like you're talking about a little speck here that I need to get better at for my trade. Like that's why you are where you are, because you'll use that 100 times so that maybe you've cut 50% of that loss because you found a reason why you shouldn't take a full size loss or get out before we lose 5 extra cents of slippage. Like, and that's what that is. What I've kind of noticed with most of the traders we talk to is like everyone's journey is so different. Like, you know, from like 2019 to 2021, me and you took very different paths. And like right now, I think we're both trading pretty well, but like it was a very different look. Like you had to learn listed, I had to learn listed. We learned it different ways. Like we traded the COVID market really differently. Like the drawdown period's different. Like when you have a really bad week, I could be having a really good week. Like everyone's journey is so different. It's not like market good, all these guys making money. Market bad, all these guys losing money.
But how did that not impact you, right? Because like, you know, you're talking to Jack, he's having a great month this month, and then maybe you're not, right? How did that not impact you and not making you place an extra trade, right? Because earlier we were talking off camera, and you guys were talking about a stock that you really love, and Huddie was like, I'm not ready for it yet, so I'm just going to chill and wait for it. And, you know, it's the fact that you were able to hold back is interesting, whereas some new traders may be easily like, you know what? Okay, cool, I'm going to do that too. Or, okay, no, you know what? I'm not going to take that trade now. Like, how are y'all able to balance that and not let it influence you as much? Because y'all are very friendly with each other, and you can tell. So I'm just curious.
For me, it was like my first 4 years were self-sufficiency. Like it was all independent. It was figuring it out by myself, and I kind of you know your own patterns, you know your own situations, you know you do well. And so like, you know, regardless of someone else's idea, like if I don't understand it, then I don't want to get involved in it, because like I know where to make money. I know exactly how to make money. If they're doing something to make them money, that's good for them, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to make money right there. I don't have to make money where everyone's making money. It just has to make sense to me. So that's how I curve it.
What's up, Jack?
I'd say Huddie's more like, Huddie and Dom are kind of more disciplined in like their own thoughts per se. Like they'll trade like exactly what they know, whereas I feel like I kind of like go around, like I basically just try to like see who's doing well, right?
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, who's doing well, and then I'll try to not necessarily do exactly what they're doing, do it kind of like with my own twist, you know what I mean? Like I saw Dom was doing really good last week with his breakouts, and I was like, like I was kind of like sleeping on breakouts the past couple weeks, so now like I've kind of finagled myself into trading them a little bit more just because I kind of see like that's what's working, and now I kind of see that like also with shorting, like a lot of things are like coming all the way back, so you have to cover into the wash, and there's not home run trades, and just talking with everybody.
And I feel like you did that with me with First Red Days, like way in the beginning. You saw that I had some kind of consistency in the chat room with First Red Days, and then you started doing that for a bit. Am I wrong or right?
And then Jack goes, how can I do that and make 10 times what you're making?
And then he did that.
And then he doesn't. But at the end of the day, you really just...
Thanks for that one, by the way.
No problem. He did to me too.
Friend.
That's awesome.
With the networking, but we were talking about, the cool thing about having a bunch of trader friends is we're inevitably going to be really different. Like what he's saying, like, you know, like Kyle Williams is primarily a short buy trader. Jack Daniels, you know, you're kind of a mix between longing and shorting these days. You kind of can do everything. Like you kind of, it's like a really big edge and advantage, I think, because you, like what he's saying, like, oh, maybe I should be paying attention to OTC breakouts right now, or listed breakouts. Maybe I should, you know, be fading stocks longer because Jack Daniels said something in the way the world news is in the filing, you know, like, but having all these people like to be able to ask questions to, like about stuff you don't know, like really well, is it's a big benefit, like just to have a little bit of everything around you, because it can make you feel more comfortable when you might not be.
Well, on that note, to wrap things up, I want you guys to explain what you guys, I know you guys got something you're releasing, or it's probably aired by now. Like you already have a whole new system that you're helping other traders with, right? So if you can tell people where they can find out more information about that, and then Jack, if you just want to let them know like how they can find out more about you as well, that way people can just reach out and ask any other questions.
Huddie?
You want to do it?
I talk too much, you should do it.
Well, you can find Huddie and me. We work together now at huddieanddom.com. It's just kind of a low-key little service that we do. We have a chat room, 2 live webinars a week. We're doing a live boot camp this week in Scottsdale. There'll be future ones as well. It's just access to us. Apparently you guys like us and think we have something to offer. So we try to contribute every way we can. We have a good time. We're personal people. I feel like, yeah.
And then we got Jack.
I'd say, yeah. I'm still a student in Dom and Huddie's room. I still attend every webinar because, you know, like Dom's the one who really put like my trading wheels on. So don't even ask me about my room. Just join like huddieanddom.com. Like go to them. If you'll have a way better chance of probability of success. Like I don't think I'm that good of a teacher. I'm better of a student, and I do have a service though, breakouts and breakdowns with Kyle, my girlfriend Mari, and myself. We do a few webinars a week. It's on the Stocks to Trade platform. It's pretty cool, but it's more, I feel like their service is a lot better personally. Like, so, like, obviously I'm saying this, like, join their service, like, it's great. And other than that, you can find me at Jackaroo Trades on Twitter, at Jack Kellogg on YouTube and Instagram, and my profit is Jackaroo. So those are my...
There we go. Well, look, guys, hey, I appreciate y'all so much for being here, man, and having a good time. We're going to have a great time tonight. So it's going to be dope. Take care.
Thanks for